behalf of all of us at Pokagon State Park and the Department of Natural Resources, and on behalf of Company 556 of the Civilian Conservation Corps, I want to welcome you all here for our 53rd gathering. And if it's the last Sunday in July, it must be time for the CCC Open House Reunion. And it's been going on for some 53 years. It's so wonderful to see so many faces. You remember the golden anniversary was just 3 years ago, and there's some discussion that might be the last one as far as the reunion. But you know, there's a number of us here who will be here for a real long time, and there will be people who follow all of us. And so hopefully on this last Sunday in July, here at Pokagon State Park, people will gather together and share a lot of memories, share memorabilia, share photographs and photo albums. And remember the wonderful work that was done over the course of those 8 years, from 1934 to 1942. Not just here at Pokagon State Park, but all throughout the country. My name's Fred Wooley. I'm one of the park interpreters, and we'll introduce some folks. And I want to thank a lot of people, too, for making the day come together again. We have our staff here. We have Holly Myers in the back, our receptionist, holding up the wall back there, and staffing the Nature Center. The building is open until 5 o'clock today, so feel free, if you didn't get a chance to look around, you'll have opportunities afterwards. And Brad Bumgardner has been with us for 6 years now. Bradley's one of our interpreters here. We'll be taking some pictures shortly, so it's always good to have Brad here. Gene DeTurk, you'll see his picture in the slide presentation. Is hiding behind the sign. Our landscape architect from Purdue University, and very active in studying the Civilian Conservation Corps history. And he has his family and friends he brings with him every year. It's always a pleasure to have you here, Gene. Nice work on the sign, by the way. Gene and Phil came yesterday and helped us get all this set up. And then we also have some people videotaping, which is certainly fine. We have Channel 20 here from our local cable network. So all of you will have a chance, if you get the local cable, to see this on that station at some point. And of course, we have a host of, I think we're up to 10 or so veterans of the Civilian Conservation Corps, Company 556. You'll have a chance to meet them all individually here shortly, as we do our group photograph, as well as some of the spouses of some of the veterans, and we'll do some introductions. And then as the plan goes, and you got the newsletter here, we'll have a slide presentation around 11 o'clock. It may start a little bit later for those of you who are making plans for the morning. And we'll look at some images of Pokagon State Park back during that time. And then those of you who are interested, we'll take a little walk to where the camp used to be. You know, just a stone's throw away where the barracks and the mess hall and all the activities took place, where these young men lived back some 60 years plus. So we'll do that as well. I want to introduce a special friend of mine. You'll see his picture in the slideshow too. We have Roger Woodcock, who for 50 years has been the organizer of the annual reunion. It really kind of brought the group of young fellows together each year to plan it. And we have Roger right here in the front row. So and Roger gave to me his precious little black book. And we keep it under wraps. We keep it in plastic. It's hermetically sealed. But in this black book was the reunion group addresses and accounts. And so it's from this book that we're able to develop and maintain the mailing list. And you've all gotten a copy of the CCC newsletter. If you didn't get a copy, I do have a few extra that we could share with you. But it's this newsletter that goes out to folks that kind of reminds everyone. And then we put it on our public program schedules, and we put press releases out. If you fired up the DNR website, you see it right on the front page. It was a CCC Company 556 open house at Pokagon State Park. So people throughout the state who fire up that website, or throughout the world for that matter, learned of this event that's taken place today and will take place. And then some aren't able to make it, but they send letters. And each year, bless her soul, I get a letter from Azaleen Downing. Some of you veterans remember Lewis Downing. He has since passed away. And she hasn't made it for, I think, over 10 years. But every year I get a little note from her, and it says, "Hello, thank you for sending the Pokagon Chieftain News Open House Reunion. Have a great day, Azaleen Downing." And so it's always nice to get the well wishes from folks, even though they couldn't make it. And you'll see in the slideshow here shortly, we had, for a number of years, coming back to the reunion, Johnny Romanek. And Johnny was the camp bugler for many years. And Johnny could not make it, but he did send a letter. So if you allow me to read that. And he sent the letter to George Dupree. George, I appreciate you bringing this, and I appreciate all of you coming forth with things. Hello, George. This is July 24th, 2006, so just a week ago. Here it is time again for another CCC reunion. I don't think I'll make it. It is too far, some 500 miles round trip. There's only a few guys left. You say hello to me, to them. I've known you for a long time, and you were one of my best friends. I've been writing to Roger. You told me that he is in a nursing home. I hope that he is okay. And of course, we'll get word back that Roger and Laura are certainly with us here again today. You let me know when I feel okay, and I had a birthday last Friday. I'm 89. Ha ha, he says. Yeah, some of you who know Johnny, so you can just picture him writing this. Yeah. I don't have a phone. I don't want one. I stay here in Indiana 6 months, and I go to Florida in November for 6 months. Gas prices rising. I'll buy beer instead. Ha ha. So George, you stay well and keep on driving. Enjoy the reunion. Take care, and may God bless you. Your longtime friend, Johnny Romanek. Very good. And I'm sure Johnny would share those well wishes to everyone, those of us who knew Johnny. And I'm looking over here at my, this dear young lady. I forgot to introduce Laura Woodcock, the other half of Roger Woodcock. And I failed to do that, Laura. But Laura is with us again today and is so often organized these things and shared in the preparing of food and drink and so forth. So Laura, it's always good to have you here. And continue the introductions. We have Glory June Greif, who has been with us a number of years, and her friend Eric. Glory June did the work, and you'll see her in the slideshow shortly, to establish the original combination shelter as under the National Register of Historic Places, as well as the entire first 1,000 acres of the property. And boy, you know, it's like a who's who in Pokagon history and a who's who in CCC history as I look around the room. And I appreciate everything that all of you bring to this day and to Pokagon over the years. And I'm amazed that you know, things continue to come up. And matter of fact, Mary brought some things. And Mary, could you come up just real quickly here and share with us what you brought?
Oh, I just, no, I brought, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, see, she said she was going to do this. There we go.
I'm very glad.
Yeah, this is Mary, and there are a number of traditions of the reunion, and she is reminding me of a long-standing tradition that she wants to maintain.
Yeah. Okay, I'm Mary Backer, I'm from Elkhart, and Eileen, Roar, and Dick will not be here because he's in a nursing home, and she's very, very ill. And I won this bowl the last time I was here, about a year, not last year, the year before that. This bowl that I brought in, with grapes, and it had been traveling back and forth for 52 years. When I received it, it was 52 years. And I was to bring it back the next year, which I did not return. So now I did bring it back this year, but I would like it to stay here now. But this, you'll see it on the table with grapes in it that have been traveling back and forth. Anyone that's been coming that long knows about it.
Yeah. Holly, can you lift up the memorial?
The grapes are in that plastic bowl, but it's been traveling, and it's got a little crack in it.
There you go. There you go. There's the CCC fruit bowl, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, boy, you gotta love it, don't you? Because we've had every year door prizes, and Roger has provided those, and that will continue. Once we do the pictures, we'll hand out these little tickets, little raffle tickets, and we have Bill Foster, one of our veterans, donated once again 3 beautiful, Gina will hold one up, beautiful wood creations of our Native Americans. Aren't those lovely? Yeah. And Bill, can you just kind of raise your hand or stand up? There we go. Yeah. There we go. And Bill did 3 of those, so those will be 3 lucky people who will have a chance to walk out with those. And then we also have, Jean DeTurk has created, through the photo album and so forth, some pictures of the CCC buildings. And you see we have all 5 of them against the window here. They're of a transparency nature. And I think we have enough, Jean, that all the veterans and the veteran spouses will have a pic of any of the images that they like, and they'll be able to take one home.
And then, Fred, there's one other door prize that I'm not sure you're aware of. As people signed up with me, I told them you were giving away a free condo in Hawaii.
Yeah, you're right, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, very good. So all of you will have a chance, and also, yeah, that was a joke. Thank you for throwing that in. Yeah. And we have our good friend Carl Stack here. Carl was cover boy on the annual newsletter this year. You got the newsletter. That's a good picture of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And did you drive today, Carl, to get here? Did you drive the van to get here today?
Yeah, we brought the van.
He let you drive? Okay, well, this is the first time, isn't it?
They wouldn't let me come unless you told.
Okay. Okay, very good. Well, it's just wonderful. And the things that we get in the photographs, we have my friend, I don't see her here any longer. Is Jean still here? She was here and donated some pictures of, no, she's not here right now. Good friend Fremont has collected pictures over the years, and every year comes through with some photographs of, she had one today of Jim Parker. And so remember Jim Parker, one of the enrollees. So the collection continues to grow, and I'm always amazed. And you know, I was looking at one of these pictures years ago of the rock crew, and this rock crew member, the Mason crew, had on these really interesting looking goggles like I had never seen before. And then Roger, bless his soul, when he was going through the process of cleaning out the farmhouse and donated a number of these things. And over the years, Roger has donated his trunk and his leggings and his wool mittens and hat and towel. And George Dupree has donated a blue denim shirt. And Johnny Romanek has donated a green army blanket. So a lot of you have come forward with things over the years. And Jean DeTurk has donated a number of things. And Roger came in one day and said, Fred, I got this here. This is from our rock cutting days. Would you like a pair of these? And there they were. Yeah, lo and behold, the goggles that the Masons wore. And they're just so different, so unlike. And I go, Roger, those are the goggles that I've been looking at in these pictures for so many years. And he said, oh yeah, those are the ones. He said, well, they're part of the collection now. And so we have that over here to add to our collection and to our presentation. So thank you again for those, Roger. And thank you for all of you for all the things you've donated over the years. And whether they be artifacts or photographs or just memories that we've been able to parlay into stories, because all of those help preserve this heritage that we have here at Pokagon State Park. Okay. Well, I wanted to mention too the flag above me. Over all the years, it's, oh, very good. Is Kelly still here?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Oh, good. We have the banner and flag behind me. You'll see it in the slideshow too, as it flew over the CCC camp, but it's flown over some other very prominent locations. We have the 48 camp flag that flew over the camp, and you'll see here the flagpole in the program, and we'll go out and look at the flagpole site and the campsite, and we'll see where the flag used to fly. And then over here we have a 50-star flag, and you'll see it flew over the U.S. Capitol, and it's for the Pokagon State Park reunion. It was brought here in 1989. So 2 very prominent flags that have a very rich history in many senses, but certainly to our company 556. We'll start right here, and if you could, everybody got their pictures? I'll take that, Mr. Eldridge. If just say your name and the year that you were here and what your job was while you're with the 3 Cs.
Carl Stack, and 39 and 40, and just sort of handyman to get labor or whatever.
Very good. Carl Stack, ladies and gentlemen, very nice. General laborer, that's great.
Bob Eldridge, 16, what is it?
1939?
Yeah, 39.
Very good. Very good. And what kind of things did you do here at Eldridge?
We tore down the cabins that was along Lake James, and we built the beach.
Okay.
All the sand and the beach.
Great.
And we worked up in the original park up above.
Okay. Original campgrounds.
Yeah.
Okay. He worked on the beach, and we'll see some slides of that project here pretty soon. Okay, very good.
I'm Roger Woodcock. I was a stonemason. He's talking about something about being in the park. I'm not so sure some of the places he's talking about were not in the park.
Yeah, Roger's told us stories about their trips into town before, so we won't share those stories right now, Roger. But Roger Woodcock, a rock mason, and certainly a longtime friend to the reunion and to Pokagon State Park. And we'll feature Roger here shortly in some slides. So thank you, Roger.
I got a flat thumb.
The apple orchard wasn't it?
Jack Hubbard. I was here, when was I here? 2 years I was here.
2 years?
And I worked on the service barn first, on the sheeting up there, and that winter froze my feet.
Did you?
And made some mortar, and then planted trees around those big trees you see coming in there in the park. I helped plant those.
Wow.
And after that, I went to work with this guy here.
Okay.
What's his name?
Yeah, Jack and Roger have been friends for a long time. Very good. Thank you, Jack.
No.
It took him a while to know the difference between a thorn apple and an apple tree.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, they learned work skills and nature skills and a tremendous amount of skills and business that they went on throughout their lives and did, even cutting hair. Right? Were you a barber, Jack?
I was a tonsorial artist.
Oh, okay.
Booker, hauled the sand on the beach and worked in helped build a bathhouse.
Very good. And what years were you here, Mr. Butcher?
38, 9.
38, 39. Very good. Very good. Yeah, Harold Butcher, everyone?
I came here in 37, stayed till 39, but I originated from Clifty Falls State Park. And they sent 6 of us up here, supposed to be stonemasons. Come to find out I was a carpenter, then I went to truck driving.
They pulled your leg, huh? Very good. George Dupree, everyone?
Bill Foster. I was here, I came here in December 39, left when the camp closed in January 42. We built the Toboggan Tower and 4 cabins.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, Bill Foster. As I mentioned, he went on to use his skills certainly in the creating the Native American artwork there, woodwork. Yeah, beautiful. So, yeah, don't go away. We'll watch them.
Oldest stall, and had all kinds of jobs, and thanks God I never had to plant trees. And later in life I became a building contractor, and I'm 85 years old, and I still love to sing and dance. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Oh, that's all. See, you know he was a singer. Wait, grab that microphone from me. Okay, go ahead and take your seats, gentlemen, and then we'll have the spouses come up. So you can take your seat. Okay, let's start right here. And just kind of the same thing, introduce yourself. A young fellow that was in the camp here, and maybe what years he was here.
I'm Jean Davis, and my husband was Glenn, and he was here in about 38 and 39.
Very good. Thank you, Jean Davis.
She also shared my birthday yesterday. Happy birthday.
Is that right? Happy birthday to you. 90 years old. Another 50 years you'll be here.
I feel special.
Yes. Very good. Wonderful. Mary.
I'm Mary Jacker, and my husband was out in Nevada in 1938, I believe 39, and he worked on the dams out there in Nevada.
Very good. He was a dam worker. Hard worker. Yeah. Thank you, Mary. And she brought that wonderful bowl back again, a fruit bowl. So that tradition continues. Thank you, Mary.
My name's Evelyn Crowder, and my husband was in 39 and 40. And
very good. Evelyn Crowder, thank you for coming.
I'm Laura Woodcock, and Roger is my husband. I think we've met here.
Yeah, Laura Woodcock, putting up with this young fellow for all these years. Thank you, Laura.
I'm Doc Foster, Bill's wife, and he was in 39-42, right? Right? Yeah, something like that. Anyways, he's one that sees good things.
Very good. Do you know from the wood shop too?
No, I just send him out there.
Yes. You just send him out to the shop, huh? Very good. Thank you, ladies, and thank you for coming. Oh, yes, let's get our tickets here. Brad, to let some others come in. Yeah, make yourselves comfortable here. We'll go through the slideshow here, and you'll see some of the things that we've been talking about. And then those of you who want, we will head outside after this, and I have over here somewhere the maps of the CCC camp. So after this, I know it's a little warm out there today, so you may want to pass on this. But after the slideshow, we'll go outside, take a little walk, and see where the camp used to be.
How about that other?
Okay, everyone comfortable? Yeah. All right, it'll get dark here pretty soon. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Herb came in shortly after we took the picture. Yes.
Did I miss that?
Yes, you did. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Herb Haskins. John came in a little late after the photograph. But what we're going to do, Brad will get a picture and Gene will get a picture.
Yeah.
And then we will Photoshop you into the photograph. Okay?
Oh, can you do that?
We have the technology to do that. Yeah. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, let me have Herb introduce himself and what year he was here and what his job was. Go ahead, Herb.
My name is Herb Haskins, and I was in here from 39 to 41.
And what kind of things did you do here, Herb?
I drove truck, and drove the ambulance, and stuff like that.
Very good. Yeah, Herb Haskins here. Yeah, I saw you sitting against the wall, and I didn't think we got you in the picture. But what we'll do is we'll take your picture, Herb, and then after the slideshow, don't get away, and then we'll put you into the photograph, so you'll be in there. Okay, sure.
He abused that word drove.
Yeah, Roger said he abused the word drove. Yep. You'll get him, right, Gene?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, have a seat, sir. Okay. Well, this is the scene many of you have when you come into the park. Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah, let me get the light out so Herb can find a seat there. Can you see okay, Herb?
Yep.
So if he can drive the truck through Pokagon State Park, he can maneuver through the familiar faces in here, I'm sure. And there's George right there, I believe, right? Yeah. And initially, the reunion was held over at the CCC shelter. And this is one of the buildings that the veterans built. And it always has been the last Sunday in July. And I asked Roger about this at one point, and someone told him that, Roger, if you want to do it on a summer weekend where there's no rain, you want the last Sunday in July. And over those 50 years, I think he told me it rained 3 times. And so they're able to move from the outside into the shelter house. And over the years, they've had a lot of fun, not only with the door prizes, but Roger has shared with us cutting stones. I think this is my very first reunion that I was at, 1980. We have then property manager Chuck Livermore, who was here. And Roger's got the stone work going, he's got the stone chisels, and he's sharing with us how he cut the stones. And of course, he came back and did that for many years. We've had some dignitaries here, and there's been some characters. This man's name was Jack Rowe, am I correct? Jack Rowe, he was one of the CCC veterans who went on later in life and obviously had a striking resemblance to our 16th president, and portrayed him on a couple of the reunions over the years. Probably the biggest reunion we had was 1983, and that was the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of the 3 Cs. And just by coincidence, it was the 30th anniversary of the reunion. And so we added some things. They brought out some tents. We knew we'd have a much larger crowd. And of course, the traditions continued, looking at the photographs, looking at the albums. And as today, we had people out from the local media. And this is a real treat. I had no idea that the Journal Gazette would be here. We had Channel 21 from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I don't know if they're still here, but I think I can see the camera and Nicole in the back. And Channel 20, our local cable network. So you can tell that there's been a real interest in this part of our history. And it's a real honor and a real treat to have our local media come from Angola and Fort Wayne and beyond to cover this event and all the work that has been done. Yes, I think there were 83 veterans. I'll leave that slide there for a moment. You'll see some faces that are familiar, I'm sure. And over the years, the numbers have gotten a little smaller. Those that can't make it back, those that are no longer with us, and of course we remember everyone who has gone on and has left us with fine memories. In '98, I think was the last year that we met over at the 3 Cs shelter, and then we started coming over here after that. I think it was that year that we came over here, had a slideshow, and then we went out and looked at the camp. And I think this is last year, right here at this setting. So we maintain the traditions. There we go. This is Johnny Romanek. I read the letter from him. And it was a couple years now that he's been here, but Johnny was the camp bugler. So Johnny would start the day with reveille at 5:30 in the morning back during the camp days, and he would close the day with taps. And in between, he would play the chow call and blow to the colors when the flag would be raised, and all the bugle calls that would occur during the course of the day in the Army way of life, Johnny would do. And I remember it was one reunion a number of years ago. 2 of the veterans were standing next to me while Johnny was playing reveille, because he would open up the reunion every year that he was here with a bugle call. And one of the veterans here said, boy, isn't that Johnny Romanek, camp bugler? And the other veteran said, well, yeah, that's Johnny. He's the one who used to blow bugle camp. And the first veteran said, yeah, he's still missing the same notes. And if Johnny heard that story, he'd have a quick comeback, I'm sure. That was Johnny Romanek. And then some of the history, we had Gloria June, I introduced her earlier, did a lot of the work, all the work, to commemorate this shelter on a National Register of Historic Places. And we have our then property manager, Randy White, next to her, and Roger Woodcock, our CCC veteran and reunion organizer, and then Jerry Patrick, our then director of state parks and reservoirs. And we as employees have gained tremendous information by looking at the photo albums, seeing how things were built, and we're still doing this today. We did it here shortly, you'll see in the slides, when we re-roofed the CCC shelter. And just last week, Sam was asking me about the beach house down from the Potawatomi Inn that used to have a window on one side. And we've looked at the stonework down below in the old photographs to kind of recreate that as we rehab some of these projects. Jack Hubbard sharing with Gene DeTurk, both here today, some of the logs, some of the history. And of course, the stories were flowing. Now, the question here is Roger is talking to Gene, is the story true? That's what I mean. Roger's told some tall tales, certainly, but the amount of information he's given has just been incredible. And is that Mrs. Laird behind there? Miss Janice, still here? I think that's her mother right there. And boy, just what a wealth of information. And Roger with his goggles, I think this was in the mid-1980s, he would come out and do demonstrations out here in the front lawn, how the stones were cut, and how the rocks were selected, and how the rock walls were made. And of course, in this process, he'd share stories about your lives in the 3Cs, and also what Pokagon was like in 1936, and 37, and 38. So it was living history at its best. It just doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than Roger Woodcock, particularly when Roger gets together with his friends. And here we have his good friend, Robert Laird, who was the camp educator back there at the 3Cs. And he and Roger came out, worked on the pedestal, which holds the monument right up the hill that talks about the camp and where it used to be. So this wasn't just a gift during those 8 years. This gift went on giving throughout the years. And it's incredible to look at the quality of the work that you did. I'm speaking directly to the CCC veterans. And, to cut stones and to put them in place, mortar them in place, and to have a mortar joint no bigger than a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. And it's just incredible. And so as you take time today, either walking back to the campsites or driving through the park, look at the quality of this craftsmanship and how these stones were cut. And you cut with the tools that you see on display over here, and cut to perfect shape so they fit in there like a jigsaw puzzle. It astounds me every time I look at that work. And you look at something as big and beautiful as a fireplace. How you get a stone up there, the size of a small chair, or the size of a microwave oven, and put it in place, 20 feet above your head. It's an incredible feat. And to have it fit perfectly like the jigsaw puzzle. It's not like you're running up and down a ladder with a little tiny wooden block. It's a huge stone. And it's just amazing. And Roger, how you did it, I've heard you talk about it, I've watched you do it, but still I look at the walls and I'm amazed by the work. And amazed by the amount of work that went in just to get the big stone split. And, we see remnants of this around the park. We see right outside, I'll show you the stone with the star chisel holes and with the feather wedges in them that were used to crack those stones. So we'll see those. And over the years, Roger's come back and got with other historians, such as Gene, and we've pored over the maps, we've pored over the descriptions of the camp, and have been able to recreate what the camp used to look like, the camp where the veterans lived. And looking at the Pokagon chieftain and borrowing information from there, and still maintaining a tradition as well with our annual newsletter that we send out. And then Gene was able to come up with some of the original drawings, the blueprints, if you will, of some of these structures and buildings. And we've gone on to use those as well. We found at the CCC shelter, that last drawing, that there was a drain in the patio that we never knew existed. It was in that drawing. So the crew went down a couple years ago and dug that out, Gene, and found that drain, reestablished it. We reestablished the drainage of that little area now. And it's through the old photographs. Yeah, this is the campsite. This is just a stone's throw from where you're all sitting right now. And some of the pictures that you'll see were taken from the water tower, so they're kind of aerial photographs. But it was always impressed upon us by the veterans of the work that was all done by hand. It didn't have backhoes and tractors and bulldozers and things. It was done with picks and shovels and wheelbarrows. The surveying crew, some of the equipment that they had at that time. I'm always amazed too when I look at the blue denim pants and things. The cuffs are a variety of heights. Yeah. I suspect the pants came all one size, right, guys? And you just rolled the cuffs up to accommodate the length of your legs. and off you went to work. Picks, shovels, parking lot work. They put into all the trails, the infrastructure for the major roads, the major parking areas. They went out in the fields. George Dupree was telling me how a lot of the stones came from Ohio. So they go out in different farmers' fields in the area, find these great big rocks. Can you imagine trying to move that thing? But they put those feather wedges in there, crack it into smaller, more manageable pieces, and then take those out and about. And there's the rock crew, and check it out. Check it out right there. Those are the goggles. And I looked at that picture for years and years. I thought, boy, those are unusual looking goggles. Never saw anything like that. And then, bless his soul, Roger came in with the goggles one day, as well as the star chisel and the rock hammers. Those are all part of our collection now. Yeah, some scenes now. This is kind of neat. Those who are familiar with the property, some of the present, or the past and present, how we maintain some of these. That beautiful stonework there. Looks more like this today. But this is one of the most unique architectures, I think, in the park. It's a real mixture of stone and that red brick. It's really unique. It's the only building on the property that has that. So what we've done over the years, when we built something new, we tried to blend it in. So in the mid-1980s, we put in that gatehouse in the center, and we used that same style of red brick and stone and the red roof to kind of make it all sort of go together. I think they did a nice job. One of the first projects was getting a bridge underneath the road that went to Lone Tree Point. So this is some of the work that was done there. You can see the stone, or the stonework on the sides of the wooden bridge. I want you to look at this picture because I'm going to show it to you a similar shot 2 shots from now. But that was in 1936. Then in the 1950s, they replaced it with this bridge. Well, it's all concrete and not nearly the character, not nearly as attractive. So when we had to replace this bridge, we took the photograph you just saw of the CCC bridge in 1936, and we gave it to the engineers and the architects and said, this is what we want. They took those plans and they built us this. So that's what you see now. In the year 2000, we built the bridge that you drive underneath. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Yeah. And if you think back to the original photograph, it had the original appearance of the woodwork with the cracked tops and all the intricate carvings. And we still maintain that beautiful stonework that you see right there. Incidentally, this might be a good time to mention, we're having interpretive signs made for 11 locations in the park. And they'll be 2 feet wide and 3 feet long. And they'll be scattered into various places that have significant historical things in the park. And of course, most of those will be CCC structures. And there'll be one at this bridge to tell the story that I just told you. Stonework. You know, we're blessed with a lot of stones in this county and throughout northern Ohio and southern Michigan. So there's ample materials. And that was the real charm of the 3 Cs, is that they used materials that were right at hand. You use the stones that are here, you use the timbers that run the property. Remember, this is the Great Depression, so there weren't a lot of resources available. So the resources came right from the land. Or if you needed hinges, well, we had a blacksmith shop that made the hinges. If you needed chisels, we had the shop to make the chisels, to make the hammer handles. So it's all really in-house. Recognize this building as it goes up? Big log signs. Take another look at it. Yep, this is the back of the, back then it was called the combination shelter. Then for many years we called it the main beach shelter. And then to commemorate the history of the 3 Cs, it's now called the CCC shelter. And somewhere in the 60s or 70s, they put an asphalt shingle roof on it. So again, when we had to replace it, we looked at the old photographs from your albums, came back and put this cedar shake shingle roof with this unique style of every 5 rows putting a double layer. So you get a real textured look, if you will, to that roof. Again, another benefit of having the old photographs and the albums. This was considered by Roger Woodcock and those who worked on it their pride and joy, that being the spring shelter. The spring shelter was a trail-side shelter for the horse trail, so they had a spot there to hitch their horses to.
Winter forecast, I think.
Okay, yeah, probably, right. Get some feedback here. Let me lower this. There. Okay, there's the saddle barn today, as it looks. You know, road work, fence work, bunch of lovely old trucks and vehicles. Look how open it is out in front. That's what impresses people, that Pokagon was so void of trees. Remember, it's all old farm ground for the most part. Look, the main road coming in. You can see these pine trees that were just planted there. And they got the shovels going. Got the cuffs in the pants looking right, pretty nice. But we see these beautiful areas today. Of course, the pines are nice and big. And, you know, most of the CCC areas throughout the country are beautiful recreation areas today where people come and enjoy the hiking and the bird watching and the skiing and all the wonderful activities that we enjoy. Well, planting trees is a huge part of the program. You can see they're balled, they're dug up in the wintertime, and burlap balled and slid across the frozen ground, dug the holes, dropped them in place. And so all the big evergreens you see scattered around the shelter houses all came from the main nurseries that are out on the main road when you come in. Not just evergreens, but also deciduous trees as well. One of the projects that I find most fascinating was building the main beach. And a couple of veterans, when they introduced themselves, said they were working on this project. Back in what's now our youth tent area was a huge sandy hill. And they dug out the sand from that hill, put it in these trucks, and went down to where our main beach is and spread the sand over what was a cattail marsh. Huge, huge sand beach. And Roger tells a story that they have contests to see who filled the truck the quickest. So they had these shovels, and they start shoveling sand into the truck back in that pit. And the first one, where the sand started coming over the sides of the truck, was the winner. And then they take it here, dump it, and then in the wintertime they drive out on the ice and drop the sand. And so when you look at an aerial photograph today, there's the sandy beach. That's sandy beach. And then you can see where the sand was put out in the ice. And of course, the ice melted away, sand sifted to the bottom. They gave us our toboggan slide. You know, boys will be boys, right? CCC was 18, 19, 20-year-old boys. And just up the hill from the camp was this beautiful hill that went all the way down towards the Potawatomi Inn. So they would play, and they created the very first toboggan slide. Now look at the twists and bends in it. Yeah. There's the Potawatomi Inn in the distance. Later on, it was straightened out some. You can still see the inn in the distance. And Russell Sprague was the property manager at that time, and he saw people from town coming out, taking a real interest in this toboggan slide that the 3C boys had built. And so it got more and more popular that everybody started using it. And that evolved and continued to evolve to the structure that we have today. You know, later on, the park was able to make a tower, make it a little bit higher. And of course, today it was the 30-foot tower, twin tracks, fully refrigerated. And the people come for miles just for a day of tobogganing. All started by company 556. Well, that was some of the projects. The camp, just a real quick look at the camp, and then we'll head out there and look around. The sign was up at the top of the hill, and you came in today, you went by the toboggan parking lot. There used to be a sign here, company 556 of the 3 Cs. There are 11 buildings there. And it was back in '97 when Gene and I got together, went over the maps of the building, and found out where the flagpole was. When you go out there, you can see there's still a concrete slab where the flagpole used to be, and you can see where the evergreens were planted, because these are now tall trees. And once we knew where that was, we could figure out by looking at the map how far away it was to the buildings. And Gene calculated the size of the buildings, and we were able to put stakes in the corners where every building was. And of course, they were long. And this looks familiar to some of you who are in the service or who are in the 3 Cs. 20 feet long, 108, or 20 feet wide, 108 feet long. One of the barracks. There were 6 barracks. You can see the foot lockers at the end of each cot. All different too. And some were made in a shop that looks like the wooden one that we have over here. Some were purchased. Roger had a business on the side. When new enrollees came in, he'd sell them a foot locker for $1.50. And if he didn't have the money, he'd loan it to them, and they'd owe them $1.75 when they got paid. Yeah, all kinds of little businesses going. Lining up for a mess for a child call. You see, all have their mess kits in their hands. Line the walkways with stones. You'll see some stones still in place out there in the campsite. A couple of buddies enjoying a free moment there in the mess hall. There's some familiar faces here, I think. And our good friend Roger Woodcock is this handsome young fellow right here. That's Roger. And this is Nick here. I forget Nick's last name. Danny, thank you. And you remember in '98 I did this slideshow. And I've done this slideshow a number of times, and Nick, bless his soul, was still with us at that time. And he was sitting right back where George Dupree was. And I look up this picture and I'm doing the slideshow as I'm doing right now, and I see Nick. And I turn around and I go, Nick, that's you. He said, yeah, that's me, right there. So that was kind of cool to see him at that moment happen in the audience some 50-some years later. The mess hall, just not too far from where you're at right now. Now I showed this picture once to the Angola Garden Club, and Diana Rowe was in the audience. And she said, that's my dad. And sure enough, this is her father right here. His name was Glenn Beatty, and he was one of the cooks and ran a bakery in Angola. Later went on to be the mayor of Angola. So that's kind of fun. That's what we found your father in the show. And how the camp changed over the years. The trees grew up. They planted lilac bushes at the ends of the buildings, so I should be able to show you what a lilac bush looks like some 68, 70 years later. We can see that out there. There's all the wonderful faces and wonderful memories and wonderful stories, and they live on through our interpretation, through our signs that we have at the spot. Camp as it looks now, and we take tours there as we do today. This is another program that we do from time to time. And just a couple images from a few years ago, looking at the size of these cedar trees now. Remember the little tiny cedar trees that were planted? I'm sure this gentleman's looking at how big these things have grown over the years. And then up at Barrack 6, where Roger took us up and shared with us a story how he was the leader of Barrack 6. And we walked right up to the very spot where Roger had his bunk. Eric, looks like you got the same t-shirt on today, didn't you?
No, it's
different. Still dark shirt, right? He still has it, like?
Oh, yeah, I still have it.
No. Very good. Civilian Conservation Corp, Company 556, 1934 to 42. That's the show. Everybody, thank you all for coming. I showed a slide of this, and you can step off the walkway if you want. What we're going to do is eventually walk down this path over here. So if you want to gather around this stone, yeah. This would be one of the big rocks that was out in the field somewhere. And then you could see they would take that star chisel and the hammer and pound these holes in. And it was explained to me that it would be one person's job to take the spoon and clean the dust, if you will, the stone dust, out of the hole. And then once they got a row of holes made, they take these feather wedges. And there's the feather wedge. Understand, these were made back in the blacksmith shop. And they put these feather wedges in there. And as the wedge implies, you know, it's like so. And then they pound on them. And then by pounding on them, you gradually split the rock. And so you can see a chunk of stone came off here. And then when we come around to continue, you'll see there's a row of holes here too, So this chunk of stone came off. At that point, you got something the size of a bread box. You know, I can say that with this group because they all know what a bread box is, right? When I'm out here with a group of kids, I'll say, well, it's about the size of a bread box. You know, no one knows what a bread box is anymore. So now I say it's the size of a microwave oven.
Oh, yeah.
You can't say size of a computer anymore because they're about the size of that watch, right? But something the size of a microwave oven would come off, and then that's where they use the finer tools to get it shaped to fit into the rock walls. Now we are, go ahead.
And you'd spend hours on the stone.
Yeah, hours on one stone. Yeah, that's incredible. And if you have your map, we're down there in the corner now where it says Present Nature Center. And it's down at this point is where the officers had their headquarters, or where they had their housing. Officers didn't stay up where the enrollees, enlisted men stayed. So we're going to walk up this path here and head to where the mess hall used to be. So walk this way. Yeah, if you look at your maps, I'm going to hold it like this. North is this way. So you're all facing south. South is behind me. And we are at where it says Kitchen Mess Hall. And we just walked up from the officers' quarters. And as you saw in the slides, it's a real long, skinny building. So it went from here in the corner, where Carl is, down there, and went that direction. So about 20 feet wide and over 100 feet long. Wow. And you had those rows of tables. And then you'd come in, right, and you had the big barrels outside. And after your meal, you'd come out with your mess kit and wash it off in soapy water. And then go to the next one and rinse it off. And then take your mess kit back to your bunkhouse, right? And I suspect you went to you did clean them further at the bathhouse.
Yeah, the barrels were there too, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I suspect there's still some remnants that you can see. There's some bits of concrete, so you'll see some reminders, in addition to the plants, the evergreens and the lilac bushes that were planted. But true to form, a lot of these structures were picked up and moved and taken elsewhere to be used. And I just a few weeks ago was given a postcard, and I'd never seen it before, of the barracks in their location in Angola, because they were picked up here and taken in there and used as housing for married students at Tri-State University.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, and someone brought in a postcard just recently. Right there? Yeah. So that was kind of exciting. I knew there was some use. But you notice the landscape hasn't really changed here. And I'll show you a picture, and you saw it in the slides, and we'll get up to the administration building. The buildings were on stilts in the areas where it was real high. And there was no bulldozing or preparing the land. It was all just placed right in here. So when they plucked these buildings up and drove them away, the land just kind of returned to the wilds. And it wasn't until '97 that we started poking around. And it was kind of handy that we didn't mow this area or maintain it, so we could come in once Gene and I started poking around and put the corner post in, and we could mow it out. You kind of get a feel for how this camp once used to lay. So what we'll do now is we'll leave the mess hall and we'll walk up here to the administration building. And it's this path right here we'll walk, and we almost put a pit toilet in the middle of the path a few years ago. Wow. Oh, we didn't, so we'll walk right up along the edge.
What'd you put in it?
Well, there's this pit toilet right here. Oh. And that's recent. That sits right there next to that path. So let's walk up here.
That's for emergency stops, isn't it, Fred?
All right.
Administration building?
This is the administration building. This is a picture here that I'm going to get Mr. Stack. He had one, and we're going to update his. But yeah, if you come in here closer, we're standing, there's a little UR here. We're standing right at the west edge of the building. There's a post there and one here. And then it goes down to the two posts you see in the distance. Now in the drawing, you'll see there's a couple wings that come off. And they're not shown. Well, there's one wing shown, dispensary.
Infirmary, I think.
Yeah, the infirmary. Mm-hmm.
That's your oldest spent time. Hey, that's where you spent some time.
Spent some time in the infirmary, eh? And that went off that direction. And then you can see the flagpole in the distance, and that'll be down in that center part down there. So we are right here. You're looking out over the whole camp at that time. And it's interesting, after we laid this out, and for years, I'd drive by here, and I knew the camp was here, but didn't know the precise locations. But once we laid these out, now if you're here in the early springtime, there's a little row of daffodils that pop up that were planted along the edge of the building.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. And here you can see how the building was on stilts there too, can't you? And you can see how the ground slopes that way. So it's on ground level up here. But you get down there, it's about 6 feet in the air. You can see the stairway that goes up to that end. In today's day, when we go to put in buildings, you bulldoze the area, right? Get it all flat. Yeah. Wasn't the case for these temporary
Everything was
camps.
really close together, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this is the one that will get you. Yeah. Okay, let's walk down to our flagpole area, shall we?
I don't want to pay the guy for that picture.
Obviously you have it.
All right, yeah, watch your step. It's uneven ground. Things a little muddy. Everyone's doing okay. I think I killed the last mosquito back there. So
Thank you.
everybody's doing fine in that regard. Yeah. Everybody's warm enough.
Yeah.
I was starting to, you get in the shade, I was starting to catch a little chill.
Chance.
Yeah, we'll get through. Yeah, if you look on your map now, boy, it's clear as day. You got this little flagpole area, and lo and behold, look at that piece of concrete right there, and you can see where the flagpole used to be. And you'll see how there's the paths that go off to Barrack 1. We're laid like this now. Barrack 1 was out there in the picnic area. Barrack 2 was back here behind me. And so there's these paths. So we're able to mow the paths right where they were. That's the path that goes down to the mess hall. So the men would come up here and have the flag raising ceremony, then file down that path there to the mess hall. And another path going off that way towards the end of Barrack 2. And then you remember the drawing I had. There's a nuthatch above us now enjoying the evergreens. But you see the little tiny red cedars in the picture that are spaced around the flagpole? Well, if you look now, look at the size of these red cedars. That's one, that's one, that's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. They're just huge.
Yeah.
And Fred, when you, in the slideshow, you mentioned they lined the walks with rocks.
Yes.
But you forgot to mention that that was the tenants.
Yes.
When they were misbehaving, they were assigned to carry the rocks and line the walks.
Yep.
And Roger said when they got all the walks lined, they thought they were done, and then they gave them whitewash, and they had to go out and whitewash.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. And most of the stones are gone. Yeah, you can see a few of the stones are still here.
I come in 39.
And
they were all done.
And of course, they don't line the walkways as they once did. Boy, that nuthatch is just enjoying these evergreens, isn't it? Okay, this, you'll see off down one of the paths there's a spruce tree. And in this picture here, it's probably about 4 feet tall. Does anybody see that spruce tree right now? We'll walk to it. I'll give you a hint, it's behind you. That little 4-foot spruce tree is that big one right there. Look at the size of that. And you can see by your map that we're right here. That spruce tree sits right out there at the edge of Barrack 1. So let's walk out there, and then we'll be just out in the open for a short time. We'll walk past Barrack 1, and then we'll come down here to Weaver Hall. But I want to show you how Barracks 1 and 3 are now out in the picnic area.
Wow.
So let's go this way here. But this is Barrack 1. And you can see there's the corner post right there. And from here, right about to where Holly's emerging from the bushes, that was the other corner. So it's just, like I say, 20 feet wide. And then Barrack 1 went down to where that post is. And if you draw an imaginary line over to those bushes, this would be Barrack 1. Then you see Barrack 3 is beyond. So you see the other 2 stakes down there. That would be the wall of Barrack 3. And interestingly enough, you'll see at the end of Barrack 3, that big bush right there, it's a lilac. Oh, wow. A lilac, yeah. And there's the big bush on the other side of Barrack 1 right here, it's a lilac bush. So on the ends of the, they didn't happen to have one here, these are honeysuckle. but the ends of a lot of these barracks were lilac bushes. So that's kind of neat to see them, how they look so many years later. But you know, until 1997, when Gene came along and kind of provided the impetus to do this project, you know, I drive up and down this road constantly.
Yeah.
And in 1986, we put that pedestal there that talked about the camp. And I knew the camp was here, but I never really knew where the building sat. Now when I drive by here, I can almost blink and open my eyes and see a barrack here and a barrack down there and the lilacs blooming.
So Fred, did you get your bearings from the trees and like the lilacs and stuff to lay the post out and the walks?
That was kind of our general guidance, but Gene came up with this map, and we knew the dimensions were 20 feet by 108, I believe, and we knew where the flagpole was. So once he found this distance, he was able to extrapolate the distance from here to there. And I think we kind of went on with a compass and a tape measure. We knew what this distance was, so we strung our strung. Edit.
Strung.
Yeah, we strung our tape from the flagpole directly this way. We found the center of this building. 20 feet, went 10 feet this way, 10 feet this way, put a stake. Went 108 feet that way, put a stake. Then we came this distance, put a stake. And then before we know it, we're putting stakes in and running our compass and running our tape measure. We had the whole camp marked. All from that flagpole. Yeah. Okay, let's head down Barrack 1 and duck in here to Weaver Hall, which was the recreation building. Here, that Weaver Hall is much different shape than the barracks and the mess hall. So Weaver Hall, the rec hall, as Carl said, was 25 feet by 50. And it's right in this spot. And of course, the flagpole from which we just came is right over there. And if you remember Weaver Hall, you'll see there's the evergreens around the flagpole, and also two nice, well, they were little back then, but now nice large red cedars just before you get to the entry of Weaver Hall. And then something that wasn't a part of the earlier days, but later on, they took the rainwater that came from the roof into the eaves and created this little decorative pool over here. So picture this, if you will, back prior to when Gene and I did this work in 1997. This is all overgrown. You see how it is out here? Wow. This whole area was like this. And so we stumble over here and encounter this thing. Your friends here, Gene.
You got frogs?
Yeah, yes, it just jumped. Oh, I see one peeking at me right now.
Yeah.
Oh, he's still peeking at me.
Yeah, I see.
Quite a few of them in there.
Oh, there's a couple of ones there. Yeah, right below my stick, there's a frog. See his eyes peeking? Oh, there he goes.
Yeah, there's one right
There's a big one over there, two of them.
Oh.
Yeah. But this little decorative pool was put in the early 40s because those gentlemen who were here in the 30s, late 30s, don't recall it. But you see the pipe coming out of the ground right there. And that little cement bowl in which the water would flow, and then from there flowed into this. And this is about 2 or 3 feet deep. We've checked that out before. But what a fun thing was to discover this. And I knew this was here because I'd stumble around out here and, you know, you can imagine in this kind of thing coming up to this little pond.
Isn't that something?
So we're able to clear it out, and lo and behold, it's just to the inward side there of the Weaver Hall, the rec hall.
So far, OSHA hasn't demanded that you put a chain link fence 6 foot high around.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I keep waiting for something like that. We have a couple of old homesteads in the park too, and one of the old homesteads has a cistern. And yeah, it's a hole about this big, but it goes down about 6 feet. And you can look down and see the fieldstone sides. But yeah, conceivably somebody could drop in it. But it's so neat, they'll go up and look into it. Did you get the last one? The last mosquito? I thought I did earlier. But you got the last one. Okay. Let's continue area between barracks 4 and 3. And how about if we make our destination barracks 6, and then we'll head down to the latrine and back to the mess hall. How's that sound? Off in all directions. And unlike the other one, there's no flagpole in the center, so it's just an open. But once again, you see our cedar trees here and there, 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 and there.
Once we realized the cedars were here, that was the initial big help with the map and the flagpole. and the cedar rings, that gave us a straight line to work off of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course you see the big rectangle down here would be barrack number 5. 5, yeah. And then barrack 6. Barrack 6. That's where the it went by a couple names. Roger said it's also called Barrack 13 or the Foreign Legion. The Foreign Legion. So let's head up to Barrack 6. And this is a little bit of some stumps and roots here, so watch this one as we walk by.
What was that, Carl?
I thought it was that, we were told that
So we may have, over the years it may have grown in a little bit. But again, you see the lilac bushes down at the end.
Oh, I used to look up my foot.
Yeah. You still have your foot like it? Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Barrack 6. And then Roger said when, he was the leader of the bunkhouse. Yeah, and when he came in, he got right at this point, and his bunk was the first one on the left. So right about where you're standing, Phil, is where Roger Woodcock had his bunk. And then when they had, you hear taps, and after taps, it was Roger's job to reach back and grab hold of the chain on the D-box, pull the lights, and then the lights were out. He was here from 36 to 39. Late 36 to early 39. 36, 7, 38, yeah. Yeah. Yep. So that was his job. And then they said sometimes there'd be a radio playing after it got dark. Some of you had radios, I understand. And WLW out of Cincinnati had the Lucky Strike music hour. So you hear some of the music of the day at that point.
Well, for a long time, I had a job folding the flag.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
The flag fold?
Yeah.
Yeah, neat.
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, you're folding the flag, so you... that's neat.
Holding the flag.
Oh, I can hold the flag.
Did you? That was kind of each cabin took turns doing that, did they?
guys weren't here.
Did each cabin or each barrack take turns folding the flags?
No, I don't think so, because I had that job for quite a while.
Oh, did you?
These were the stinkers down here in Barrack 6.
Yeah, yeah. And we're giving that, did you?
They were the rock painters and the...
Yeah, or the rock haulers. Well, we're at Barrack 6. The longest path of the whole camp is right here. You kind of see how it goes all the way back, and it's kind of curved a little bit. But yeah, let's head down this path here to the latrine, and then we'll go past the bathhouse and back to the mess hall.
Fred?
Yes?
Was this area mowed during the years that it hasn't grown up and
I
bigger?
think early on we wouldn't mow it all the time. We'd come in and mow it occasionally.
Yeah.
And actually back in the 50s, this was overflow camping.
Oh.
Used to be an old road that went up there, and a bent went along the woods and ended up at the warming center. And oh, there you go. And so this was campgrounds, overflow campgrounds.
Take a couple of them.
Okay.
So that's why it never grew up like all the
Right.
area in
Yep.
there.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yep.
Everybody smile.
Yeah. So you see lilacs again on the end of that. Yeah, you can see it's a much smaller building. I think it's 15 by 20 feet. And actually there were a series of several of these. If you look, there's 3 more depressions just like this one. But my understanding was there was a central door and then a row of benches down the center, right? And a seat on each side, a back. Yeah.
Do you remember any?
Well, I don't think it really has any running water.
No running water, yeah. Yeah. And then my understanding too that the lids had a spring mechanism on. So when you got up, the lid went back down. Yeah. So the lid was always down. But Gene, he's down in the...
Yep, and here's some corrugated metal, and it looks like a centipede going down this. There's an opening about that big. Looks
Was
like
it?
a drain pipe
Oh.
or something. And here's a piece of corrugated coming this way.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope it's sturdy and I don't fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to throw you a rope. And then there was an orderly, if you will, whose job it was to spread straw and a mixture of fuel oil and diesel on here. And then when everybody would leave for the day, he'd start that on fire and burn that out, what was in there. And I suppose it'd take away some of the odor too, to have the straw burn and
And there's a building around it, and he lit this thing?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And
then you're going to tell the gas
boy, should we tell that story?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, there were turbines. You know, as you see on our pit toilets, there's these vent pipes that come up with turbines on there that spin around, and it vents the odors out of the hole. And Roger Woodcock would tell this story much better than what I'm going to. But this orderly, someone got into his mixture of fuel oil and gasoline and mixed it rich with more gasoline. And when he spread the straw there and that fuel oil on there, when he lit it, boom, it exploded. And it blew some of the seats off the bench and blew the turbine off the top. And he goes running back to the administration building. And as Roger explains that this orderly was kind of a simple, if you will, challenge in some degrees, ran back to the administration building, runs in there just real nervous and all shook up, and they slow him down and said, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And he's all shaking. He said, "Someone blew up the shitter." And you know, of course, whoever did it, I'm sure had good stories to tell once they got back to camp. But I suppose when you're here and you're working, boys were boys, right? And played some practical jokes as well, I'm sure. Okay. Any other questions about the latrine? All right. Let's walk up this trail here past the bathhouse right here, and then we'll make our way back to the mess hall. Clean water. Remember, the water tower from which this picture was taken was across the road at a pretty high point, a high spot. And so the water would come towards the camp area. And I have some pictures of this site in the wintertime when you see steam coming up. So there was a mechanism for heating the water. They weren't cold showers, were they, Carl?
What?
They weren't cold showers, were they?
They were hot.
Yeah, they weren't real hot. Yeah. But, and I don't know, Otis or Carl, do you remember how it was arranged in here inside the bathhouse?
I wouldn't have the slightest idea anymore.
Okay. Yeah, this is a place to get cleaned up after a long, hard day of working, right? And the camp probably had no more than 140 or 150 at a time. And so obviously they'd be taking turns. They'd have to come here in shifts in order to get their showers. And that would be at capacity too. I suspect a lot of these bunkhouses weren't full.
Oh.
You know, each bunkhouse held 30, I think. Is that right?
The barracks?
The barracks.
I'm not sure, but I was trying to count the beds in the picture. But
yeah, I think I've counted 15 beds on the side, so it'd be 32 a barrack.
30 would be,
so that'd be 180.
Times 6, that'd be 180 maximum. Yeah. And I doubt if it was completely packed. I don't know that though. But still, you know, pretty small area to take baths for a group that size. Mm-hmm. But that's the bathhouse. And over here too, we found some concrete in the corner there when we went to do some work. And then here around this building, we have some old remnant apple trees. That's an old apple tree there. Matter of fact, I see an apple hanging on it. Yeah. And that's an old apple tree right there. And on the other side here is another old apple tree. So in addition to the lilacs, obviously there are some apple trees planted. And that's cool. You know, here 60 plus years later, you got a tree still producing apples. All right. Are you done imagining all the young men in the bathhouse here?
Yeah, I am. I still don't have that image of the bathroom out of my head.
Yeah, you're still working on that. Yeah.
Brain bleach there.
Yeah. Okay, we'll head down towards the mess hall. So far we're free. So far the park is free. There's some in a county though, so it's reasonable.
Do you know Tom Ebbing? Tom Ebbing?
I didn't point out either. I don't think I
He's
did. I just noticed that we walked by. There's some colored posts back here too. That's a smaller room off the side where the officers had their mess. I think, yeah, officers' mess. That's on the map there. So that was a little separate room. I guess they didn't want to eat with you enlisted guys, eh?
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Any last comments or questions about the camp of Camp SP7 for Company 556?
Fred, is there a story that when they were laying the rock in the shelter house at the beach area, down below, above the fireplace, they put a cross in there, unbeknownst to whoever was in charge?
I haven't heard that. I don't know the story behind that. What is that? Yeah, it's at the CCC shelter?
Yeah.
There's a heart down there too, right?
a heart or a cross or something
Yeah,
there.
the heart, might be a cross on the other side then.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know there's a heart down there.
Okay.
So there could be a cross.
Isn't there an Indiana state map in one of them too?
Oh, stone in the shape of a...
Stone in the shape of the state.
Boy.
It seems to me I heard a story about that.
Okay, I'd have to look into that too.
Yeah, the notes again, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, over the years we've been able to, we videotaped Roger for about 6 hours worth of videotape, and then we audio taped them in the basement of the Nature Center. So we have all these, and they're great stories, and I get questioned all the time, and maybe a story that I heard 10 years ago, and I don't remember it, but it's all preserved, and if we keep people interested, as we're doing here, you know, the stories will maintain and roll on.
We must have had over 50 people today. That was great.
Yeah, I think the building was packed.
It was.
The room was packed. And I think I counted 15 or 18 people here, I think. And so it's good. Thank you all for giving me your time for the hike and for the entire afternoon. And mark your calendar.
Thank you for keeping the history and keeping this reunion going for the fellas and Jean's input and your gal back here. This is wonderful.
Well, it's a real treat. Yeah, we enjoy doing it.
I want to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I almost died while